to
Y'all, what's
an
up? What's up?
episode on how do we mentor young men. Here we have a guest. I've known Mr. Paul for a good while now. How many years now, Mr. Paul?
Oh my God. I want to say maybe a good 10 years?
Something like that, right?
Something like
Sounds about
that, like
right.
somewhere around
Yep.
there. It's a lot
Yep.
of years.
Yep. Um, yeah, so our conversation is regarding mentorship. If you haven't seen it already, you can see it here in the description section.
Yeah.
Again, if you are a listener and you're watching us, please let us know if there's any technical difficulties. Thank you. Thank you.
The
Sometimes
audio
my
quality, that's
audio
good.
and my video don't sync for whatever reason. When I go back and look at the live, it just looks awful. So if that happens, let me know. If there's any kind of weird sounds coming out of it, let me know and I'll take off the microphone. I'll just put on some headphones like you did. But anywho, like I said, this is Paul. Paul, I've known him for about 10 years. I think he was in middle school when I met Paul. Paul has gone through a lot of changes. He's not a young man. Um, let us know a little about yourself, Paul, so the subscribers can get to know who you are.
Yeah, so absolutely. Again, like Daniel said, my name is Paul. I go by many nicknames, Paulie P, Paul. I got all these cool nicknames. But anyway, so a little bit about myself is that number one, I am a true born natural musician. Always been a natural musician. Love been playing drums since I was 4 years old, and I'm still going strong. I'm now 24. And like Daniel said earlier, we do have a great history. We met at a nonprofit organization called A Place Called Home. And I remember my first year that I started, the first month, the first week, the first day, as a matter of fact, we were meeting in a really cool class setting, which was I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was called something. It had to do with poetry.
Rhythm and poetry.
Yeah, rhythm and poetry. There we go,
Yes.
rhythm and poetry, in which that means that we get to bring in our musical talents and our expressions verbally as well. So the way that me and Daniel met was the first day of class. And we were, he was going over an introduction. He was just letting us know what rhythm and poetry was all about. And so I'm sitting there listening, and I remember I was dialed in. There was a lot of distractions in the class, for sure. There was a lot of distractions in the
Do not
class.
remind the people here.
No, so that's all I'm gonna say. Is a lot of
Yeah.
distractions. But however, being dialed in, locked in, I remember Daniel showed us a video of him rapping and also doing poetry at the same time. For those of you who are musician, sound artists, songwriters, you guys can understand where I'm coming from and where we're coming from, because what happens is that we get into sync with the music, but then at the same time, what happens is that foundation of the song itself, the beat itself, can cause us to come up with a storyline just like that. So I remember there was a time where he showed us a video and I'm watching. I'm like, man, like this guy has talent. And mind you, I'm only 12 years old, right? I'm only 12. Um, and or 13, 12 or 13, one of those. But that class has really shaped me into the person I am. Quick story. So there was a time when we were in the class and he had us, write a poetry, right? And then with that, afterwards, he'll have us find a song, like an instrumental for us to like, kind of like, go in sync with what we're going to say. So I remember I wrote a poetry that's called Drummer Boy. And
Mm.
within that poetry, I was talking about, how I was always like annoying my teachers. There's a verse where I'm talking about like, I wish people would snitch on me when I'm trying to give my talent, right? So
Mm.
I'm trying to share my talent in the school, right? I'm trying to share my talent in the room, but there was always that one kid or a couple kids that were always like, snitching, being like, "Hey, can you tell him be quiet? Can you tell him stop?" and all of that. And you know, What had to been done had to been done. But then further in the years, I met another staff, and I got into the band, and I would kind of piggyback off of going to the studio, going to Daniel's class. So yeah, man, and even now I'm also a live producer, a DJ, still a musician. I am also a videographer as well, and a YouTuber, a content creator. So
Yes.
we'll talk about that later in the live. But I do want to pass on to Dan because we have some stuff that we definitely want to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, like you said, thank you for mentioning that. That's a long time ago, and I'm glad that that class, gave you some identity, something to build on. And we had some fun times there. Like you said, there was a lot of distractions from specific students. We're not going to mention, but you love talking about it. Anywho, I got a couple of questions that I wanted to ask because this is around mentorship, and I know you have
Yeah.
been or part of a place called Home APCH. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, it's a nonprofit organization in South Central. And Paul was one of the first youth that I worked with when I used to work there. So we connect on so many levels when I was a staff at the organization. So my first question to you, Paul, is why is mentorship? Why does it matter more now than ever?
Wow. Oh my goodness, that is a good question. I would definitely say that it matters now. You said why it matters now, correct? So it
Yes, now
matters
more than ever.
now. So it matters now more than ever, just due to the fact that I'm still considered a young adult. And there are plenty of things right now that I still feel like I can learn and that I need to learn. It's mandatory for me to learn. And what I mean by that is that there are certain things that I'm facing right now in life in which I feel like I still need that guidance. I need guidance on how I handle people who are impatient, right? I need to learn how to be coactive, or I'm sorry, proactive in certain activities that I do in life. And then also just kind of getting ready for that next stepping stone as to people asking me well, what is it that you see yourself doing for the next 5 years? And right now I haven't had time to think about that because I mean I asked myself, am I really ready for what's to come in the next 5 years? Am I ready to face these challenges that are literally about to rope me in? Because even now in life, it's like, I'm still looking for someone that can help guide me, give me advice, give me some, give me their two piece on how to be stable in a job, in a work environment, around certain friends, family members, right? Because I can definitely say, I'll be honest, I can definitely say that I want to say like maybe 5 years ago, I was not who I promised myself when I was in elementary that I wanted to be. There was a promise that I made myself. There was a promise that I said I was going to be a a really amazing content creator. I want to be a TV and I want to be in the TV and film industry. That I have not lived at all. I never kept up with my promise, and that's something that I need to start learning how to do. But to circle back to your question, Daniel, I would definitely say that the reason why it's really most important now than ever because at the age of 24, I'm in my mid 20s right now. I'm about to be 25 in September. So there is stuff that I still need to learn before I feel like I'm ready to be like, all right, cool. I like this apartment, let's get it. What's the catch? What are the stuff that I need to be looking for? Bills, rent, you know, water bills, heat bills, all that stuff comes into play. And it's not that I'm saying that, I wasted all this time 5 years ago not learning that, which I have. It's just the fact that I need a little bit of a push because I'm nervous that if I jump into it, I might make a mistake and I might get evicted. So there's still stuff for me to learn.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens. I think a lot of you guys who came out of that program, I think it's amazing the help that you guys get. But I think where the program failed a lot of you guys is that it made you not take those risks, right? And I think A lot of things happened in the last couple of years too. COVID probably messed up a lot of you guys. Some of you guys are graduating from high school during that time, or college or whatever. So it really redirected a lot of your uh your paths, right? So I understand. Now, as somebody who has received mentorship, through this program, do you see yourself becoming a mentor anytime soon? Are you a mentor to people in your community?
That's a really incredible question. Do I see myself being a mentor? I do, absolutely. And I'll say why. I've learned so much from my previous mentor that the amount of fun that we had together, but at the same time, there were times where we had serious conversations. And within those conversations, it caused me to break down, you know. And I remember I was watching your live stream with your wife. You were talking about there's a part where you were talking about men having a hard time expressing their feelings. Me, not at all. There's no shame in me expressing my feelings, especially when I'm with my mentor, the person that is literally there as a father figure, to help guide me and give me advice. Because I was in college, and he remind you, there was a time where I feel like I failed my mentor because I said that I was ready to do something that I knew I probably wasn't ready for. And with that, I had came up with the excuse and I had lied to him. But the thing that really, really brought us together more was the fact that he wasn't upset, he wasn't mad, he understood. He understood because he's been through it. He's when he went to college, he knows what college life is like. But with me, I was like so excited to go to college. But then once the real work came in to start getting assignments done, nah, man. I did I slack? Yeah. Was I being lazy? Absolutely. It was during COVID. Like I was still in bed, not wanting to do nothing. Of course, I was slacking, and of course, I was being lazy. However, what my mentor taught me was that there's no greater love than the people who are closest to you. There's no greater love than the people who are surrounding you and letting you know that you got what it takes to go to the next level. So that's what I got out of that. Am I mentored now? I definitely want to say I am. With the job that I have right now with Rex and Parts and with the city, and even still, I'm volunteering at a place called Home. I would definitely say that yes, I am mentoring young people right now. I would definitely say that a lot of young people are where they are today, as far as like wanting to do music, wanted to play drums, wanted to play guitar, whatever that may be. It's because I gave him the push, and at the same time, I gave him that advice that my mentor gave me. Do and you know what? Dan, I'm really thankful that you brought that up because yesterday was Father's Day, and again, I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, including you, Daniel. I feel like you have reached your potential as a father figure in your daughter's life to the point where she's now ready to be challenged once she gets older. So I want to congratulate you on that. I honestly wish I would still have my dad in my life, and I feel ashamed that my only mentor that I had wasn't there until I was the age about 4 or 5 years old. As a kid, you're not really thinking so much about where he is. You're just really looking for that moment in time to spend with your dad, right? And with me, there were times in elementary where I was like, "Oh man, my dad's gonna pick me up. We're gonna go to the park. We're gonna ride bikes. He might take me to Chuck E. Cheese. He might, teach me how to catch a football, whatever the case may be, right?" But no, that didn't happen, and due to those circumstances of whatever the decision that my dad made, to leave me was on his own accord. But at the end of the day, I still know that he loved me deep down. Um, Now, do I wish that there was stuff that I can learn if he was to stay in my life? Absolutely. How to change a tire, how, you know, literally wash a car, like wash dishes, do the plumbing, because us as men, I feel like that's kind of our job. We're kind of like the handyman around the house, right? We're always fixing something, doors, windows, TVs. We're putting up new shelves, wherever the case may be. If my dad was still around, absolutely, I feel like there would be a whole lot of stuff that I can learn. But since he wasn't, there was stuff that I had to do on my own. I have to do my own research. I had to go on Google, go on YouTube, ask, maybe my uncles, ask my friends, fathers, how you put the tire on the car, how you even screw a nail into a wall, how you do these things. So if my dad was still in my life, I feel like I would be in the position to definitely be a mentor at a place called home. I feel like, yes, in that moment as a 22-year-old, I want to say maybe yes, I would still be a mentor. That I will be definitely a mentor at a place called home. So yeah,
Well, I've definitely seen you growth in all the years that I've known you, and just the way you handle tough times. I remember you would walk out of class whenever
yeah,
there was an issue. You would walk out, you were frustrated, you would walk out, and you've grown so much in the last 10 years. Obviously, you were a boy back then. And I remember you talking about some of the stuff you just mentioned at the moment. And that's why it's so vital. I've said this so many times, and any time that I made content, the importance of a father in a child's life. I would say it's even more important for a boy, right? Not that girls don't need their dad to do too, but
yeah,
everything you mentioned, right? Your father is your first mentor. And so I'm sorry that you didn't get that experience growing up, but I am happy that you were able to get men in your life that gave you their time, gave you their wisdom, gave you the knowledge to
yeah,
push you forward and to be who you are at the moment. You're not fully developed yet. You're still growing. I mean, we're always gonna be growing. That's the goal, to continuously learn from life.
absolutely.
But with that being said, I would say that I would see mentorship in you whenever once you got older, and this is something that would always bother me, not about you, is how they kept you away from the little ones when you were trying to come back to the smaller space, and you would let me know, hey, you know what, I have to basically sneak in to this area because for whatever
Yeah,
reason they don't want me back on this side. And that to me never made sense because you went through the program as a youth, and now you were older and you wanted to give back to them, and that was your intention, right? And I don't know if you remember this, but when I had my football in the classroom class, that was the best class that I ever had at a place called home. Why? Because it was a peer mentoring class as well, right?
that's right.
You had little ones, elementary kids, you had middle school kids, and you had high school kids. There was a pipeline of
Yeah.
mentorship happening, and it was amazing to see that. So I never understood why they were so against that, in particular you, who had experienced pretty much every single one of my classes at a place called home to some extent. But
And
I've seen you be a mentor, and you know, I asked you that question because you're not there anymore. I don't know what you are doing specifically, but I saw the qualities even when you were still like 17, 18 years old.
mhm. You know what? I'm gonna definitely say that the reason why th- there's truth behind everything you just said, but to be honest, the reason why is because they saw two people who believed in young people. Us, they see us pushing them to a certain limit that will make them comfortable to want to express their feelings to us. And when I say that, I want to say that when you are when you as a staff were working at a place called home, and when I would deliberately, yes, sneak in to just spend time with you and just, you know, be like the second, be like the assistant in the room. I believe that they saw two people in the room shining so bright because we were expressing what we want to see within them. And so when they see two people shining too brightly and having a good time while still being able to have work efficacy, right? That's the moment they were like, yeah, we need to separate him. Because mind you, like you said, I was 17, 18. So they were so focused on me wanting to prepare my livelihood. They wanted to keep me on the side with the older kids, right? And again, it didn't make sense. But at the end of the day, I was thankful for the moments that we had. Why did they do what they did? Again, they saw two people shining and they saw the potential within both of us because they know your worth, they knew my worth, they knew how you were going to affect these kids in the long run, which is why shaping them now will be the better future for them. Does that make sense? You are basically molding these young people to be able to build them up to a good enough standpoint so that way when you send them out to the world, they're good to go. That's the same thing we were doing together. We were expressing that through music. We expressed that through poetry. We even did that in what? Journey. They were so hesitant and wanting to believe that Journey was the best thing for me. I'm gonna be honest. Was it? No. Did I learn some stuff? Yes. But what did Journey do for me? Nothing much. And I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why is because yes, while I am in a group with young men, we're all the same age, and we're talking about, just stuff that, boys and men will talk about. But it wasn't as it's not as moving when you are so used to talking to an individual like yourself. There will be times, guys, where me and Daniel will sit in in his room. The first thing he'll always ask me every time I walked in is, "How was your day?" And then the second most important question, "What did you learn today?" The second question will always be hard for me to answer because every time I gave him an answer, he saw me hesitating. Daniel would notice that I would not answer the question truthfully because there were times where you were very good at reading me. You would know that I would be hiding something or trying to like keep something away from you to basically make me feel comfortable. But something that I've learned over time when we would have our conversations before I joined Journey was that I have to be uncomfortable in order to be comfortable. I had to get out of my comfort zone. And was that hard to do? Yes, because as Daniel mentioned, that there would be times where I would definitely storm out of a classroom, and those reasons will be because I was so comfortable being in a specific area that when I would get into a area that I wasn't comfortable being with, it was hard for me to adjust. And I would definitely say for those of you who are watching that you have to get uncomfortable. There's going to be times where you're going to have uncomfortable conversations. There's going to be times where you have uncomfortable moments with a certain individual, whether that's a father, whether that's your dad or your peer mentor. You have to learn how to be strong and face the punch. Again, the conversations that we had in Journey, yes, they were all good, but it wasn't like having a dad there because you're in a room with about like what 15 other guys. And so when you go one by one, when you go one by one, right, everyone's sharing their story. You're sitting there and you're trying to like listen, you're trying to lock in, you're trying to pay attention, but at the same time your mind is telling you and your heart is telling you and your spirit is telling you. As you guys know, if you guys haven't known, me and Daniel are both religious, we're both Christians. Something that I definitely believed in when I was in Journey, Daniel, check this out. Yeah, I feel like you could probably definitely resonate with this, is that when you're in Journey and when you're having serious conversations and when you're listening to each individual talk, for me, being a part of Journey as a Journey member, my spirit was telling me that this is not for me. I'm gonna be honest. This class is not for me. But I still showed up anyway because I was I had to. I'm not gonna say I was forced because I don't want to put the wrong intentions out there. Even though it did feel like to me I was forced to do this class. But there were times when Daniel remembers this. He'll probably give his 2 cents on it. I would basically express my true feelings to him about Journey. And it's funny because Daniel was like, huh, that's funny because whenever I would ask you a question that regards you wanting to express yourself, you never want to explain it. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh shoot, he's right, right? Because why am I just now expressing my feelings to Daniel when he's constantly been asking me? See, that's what God does. He puts people in your life because he knows that that individual is going to help shape you into the person that you are going to become in the next 10 to 15 years. Why did Daniel ask these questions repeatedly? Because he was trying to get me to tell the truth. He wanted me to speak the truth. But the fact that I didn't, he had to try to find a way to navigate and circle back around that conversation that we had maybe like 5 to maybe 8 weeks ago. And he's like, well, you're telling me all of this about Journey, but whenever I ask you about school and how your grades are and why you're not doing A, B, and C, you don't want to talk about it, but you want to talk about Journey. So I'm going to pass it back to Daniel because I feel like he can definitely resonate. And then we're going to, I believe, move on to the next thing. So go ahead and take it away.
Yes, a lot to cover there. Thank you for sharing that story. I remember those conversations. You would come into my office and you'd come with all these plans and questions, and just like I'm doing now, I would just question you, listen to you, and then I would ask you a follow up question. I would just make you reflect. I mean, that's my style. That's the way I mentor, right? But anywho, I think what I want to ask next is, obviously you mentioned your story about growing up without a father, which I'm sure it must have been really, really difficult, and probably made it difficult to trust people considering that you didn't have somebody in your life. So when you did have a mentor, what was the I guess the thing that allowed you to trust this person to be your mentor, to because you would spend time with them. I believe you were with your mentor for 4 years. At a place at home. Yes, you're one of the few ones who did. So what was the thing that allowed you to build trust?
So the thing that allowed me to build trust with my mentor was it was actually really simple. It's quick and easy to answer this question. Music. And I laughed because that was the moment I was like, I love him. I want him here every day. And me remind you that, I never knew what kind of mentor I was getting. Honestly, I was nervous when I was first introduced into the mentorship. I'm sorry, into the mentorship program, because again, I never knew who I was going to be paired with. But the fact that God allowed this individual to come into my life, and the first thing I knew and the first thing I remember hearing was that he was a musician and he was a drummer. But then at the same time, I never knew that God was going to send two things for me: a mentor and a drum instructor. I did not know that. So the fact that I was blessed to be able to be with this individual. Building trust was one thing, but at the same time, being blessed was another. The building of the trust started the day that me and my mentor first met. And the first thing that we did together was a drum exercise. He came out with this incredible drum pad. He had drumsticks, varieties of different drumsticks. And he asked me, the first thing he asked me was how long I've been playing drums for. I said, since I was 4 years old. He was impressed. Then he asked me, what kind of genre of music do I like? I said, I love pop, hip hop, reggae, soca, as well as what's that? Gospel, right? Church music. And so the thing that brought us together was the fact that when I said reggae and gospel, that's it. Those were the two genres that we were able to lock in on together and work on together. So when I'm sitting there listening to him, watching him, really locking in, listening to everything he's telling me that he wanted me to do on this drum pad, I was like, yeah, I think we're going to be getting along just great. This is going to be a really, really fantastic journey. And throughout the years, we've been jamming out. We even went to a musical convention together that's called NAM. And that really, really built our trust to a much stronger foundation right there. The strong foundation was the day that we went to that music event, and it was like never before that I ever thought that we would be in sync and just kind of like having like a great time. We did parkour, yeah, yeah. And after the event, the first thing that really made us both laugh the most was when we were leaving the music convention and we were trying to find his car. We both forgot what lot. We both forgot what parking garage we parked and we were going from level one to level two, but we never walked up the stairs. We were parkour from one stairwell to another. And it was so funny because it was a gap that was like, I think I can do this, but I don't know. But I made it work. I put one leg over the other stairwell and then I hopped over, and so he'll be holding me. It was just this whole thing. Another one would definitely be Long Beach. Long Beach was another gain of trust and another sign of trust that we had. That was the day that he first brought me a bike. That was the first day my mentor bought me a bike. And so we rented two bikes together and we would just ride around Long Beach. We were riding around the Pike. We were going to biking lane, and while we're riding, we're talking, and we're talking about life. And he asked me, "What do I want to do for myself?" Because even at the moment, he knew I was a content creator. And I told him that I want to inspire young people on my channel, on my YouTube channel, through my vlogs, and doing things like this, live streams, and where I'm talking about, different topics of how I can better help young people, how to get you guys built up to a certain point to where you guys are ready for that next level. And there's a point in this conversation that we're going to be talking about g- uh, me helping you guys build up you guys' potential and power into becoming a content creator. But Long Beach Daniel was definitely the key point. Talking about where I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years, talking about why is it so important for me to live the now rather than live the later. Also, there was a time when we stopped riding our bikes and we would look out into the water, and I would close my eyes and we would close my eyes and do this kind of like calm, meditating, rewind, just kind of like thinking about life and thinking about the now moment. And I'm closing my eyes and I'm like, life is beautiful. The wind is blowing through my hair. I had a lot more hair than this. I can smell the water, smell the ocean. And then I would open my eyes. And one of the first questions my mentor asked me was that, what do you see out there? I said, I see God's creation. Straightforward. I see God's creation. And he was like, well, what do you mean by that? Elaborate. I said, I see something that mankind has made for us. I see something that has been beautifully planted on this earth, on this world, that I'm very blessed to be a part of this world. And I'm blessed to have a mentor. And I told him, I said, I'm very blessed to have you. Because if it wasn't for you, I don't think that I would be a content creator. I don't think I would still be going to school. I don't think I will be doing as good as I thought I would right now. I would have been on the side of the road doing things I'm not supposed to be doing. I would be hanging around the wrong people. I would be influenced by the wrong people and probably stop going to church. You know, me, I know for a fact that when I turned 13, that's when things was that's when things were going to be changing for me. I've been living with my grandma, and I know for a fact that she was scared for me to be a teenager, to be 13, because she never knew exactly what I would do if I would end up walking out of class, ditching class, and or talking back to my teachers, using the wrong, inappropriate languages, snapping at people, you know, just throwing a hissy fit for no reason. But that didn't happen, right? I'm very blessed that God's kept me 24 years and he's kept me under his loving arms. Um, I'm just like blessed, and I still wish that me and my mentor would still hang out. We kind of falling apart around 2023 or 2024, I want to say. Our last hangout was in 2023, or 2024. I could be wrong. Early 2024. And then that's when Daniel had came into the position of being part of the life mentoring program. Unfortunately, I was able to have that time with my mentor along with Daniel when he got that promotion. But at least I had the time that I had with him to be the person I am today.
What a beautiful story to have him. And it's the thing about mentorship, but it's not supposed to be forever, right? Eventually, the goal is for you guys to become independent, that we give you enough tools, enough wisdom, enough knowledge that you guys can move on and be your own men, right? Because
Yeah,
you also don't want to be dependent on somebody else to make decisions.
that's
And
right.
from everything that you said right now, it seems like you have had some tough times. You've overcome these tough times. And one of the things that you mentioned that I think is important to mention is you believe in a higher being, you believe in God, right? And you're one of the few kids that would openly say it and was never afraid to say it, right?
No, not at all.
And your spirit was always up because of this, right? You would always, we would make jokes, right? We would say, Preacher Daniel's coming up, to talk, give him the
Right.
microphone, right? He's got his suit
Yes,
on, right? We,
yes.
we would do stuff
You
like
guys
that.
sit on, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You would put your hand out, and be like, "Oh, okay, he's doing his thing," like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you were always very open about your your beliefs, and that was the next
Yeah.
question for me. Is that do you think that a person who does not have this belief in God, who is not rooted in Jesus Christ, that they're fit to lead? Do you think they can do that?
You know what? Yeah, I do. The reason why I say yes is because I believe that every person is meant to be a leader. That I don't think that one person, just because based off their religion, whether they believe in God, whether they don't believe in God, there are some incredible people out there who don't believe in God who are leaders, and I give them props for that. But I feel like in moments, in due time, that same individual that didn't believe took the time to actually believe. They would take the time to study Christianity. They would take the time to see what's the Bible all about. And with that, built them up to becoming a great leader. Now, I would definitely say that for me as a Christian young man that I feel like I'm fit to lead. I've always wanted to be a pastor. I did. I always wanted to be a pastor. But the fact that God probably, I've been feeling up to it, but I don't know if this feeling is intentional. I don't know if it's real or if it's actually something that is there because I feel like I can be called to be a preacher, to be a pastor. But the way that I talk, and going back to what you said, that I would never be afraid at a place called home to express my belief in God. A lot of times I'll be like, come on, Daniel, let's praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, brother Daniel, praise the Lord. Or be like, hallelujah, God is good. And then all the time, God is good. I would never be afraid. Will I get in trouble for it? Shoot. Yeah, because
But we didn't care.
at that no, not at all. Like we didn't care at all. Like I would mostly get in trouble because of the fact that I would always talk about God and I always talk about the Bible. I was big quoting Bible scriptures. But at the same time, they didn't see who I really was. And I feel like with that being said, they really didn't know who I was. That's why the they saw me shining so bright and they saw me just being so happy and excited all the time and so hyped up because I'm thankful. I was grateful. I would wake up every morning being thankful and grateful. I would go to school and do the same thing over there. And you know what? My teachers did not care. They can get zero F's about literally me being loud, talking about Jesus and all of that. They did not care because they knew who I was.
Celebrate.
Celebrate. Exactly. That's another thing we'll say. We'll be like, celebrate. And back then, Daniel had light hair. It would be light hair. We're going to get into that a little later. We're going to get into that a little
To
later.
that later.
But
Yes. Go ahead.
yes, but Daniel, I believe that there are incredible people out there, religious or not. I believe that they are fit to lead. But my question is that do you feel that if you are not a religious person, do you feel that you still have that intention to want to be a leader?
Great question. I think that if you're not a religious person, you should have some kind of moral system that guides you. And I can only assume that most people who work with youth probably have that, or people who want to be mentors have some kind of moral system that's not necessarily Christianity, right? So I believe they can. I agree with you. I think that they can do that. What I don't agree with is somebody who is anti God or anti religion specifically and hates God. You cannot be a hater of God or any of these religions, philosophies, and be a good leader because you have hate in your heart. If you have hate in your heart, you cannot be a good leader, in my opinion, right? You are still working on yourself. So that's the way I would answer that question. But I do want to wrap it up with a couple more things, just because I do have to go pretty soon. Uh, what is your best memory at, you know, with your mentorship or at a place called home? Any give these guys a laugh, man. And there's a lot of things that we can talk about, but what is your favorite thing we did there?
Oh God.
Was
Okay.
the shed?
Uh, you know what? Let's talk about the shed.
All right,
This.
let's talk about the shed.
All right.
Oh man,
So there was a time where wait. Okay, so there was
you're now free time.
it's that funny. Oh my god. We have free time and I deliberately remembered that me and Daniel were talking. And so I believe you were playing catch. You were like far away and then you had a football. Or I think
Yes.
you were the one that's near the shed. Were
No,
you by
you
the
were the
shed?
one
You were
near the
by the
shed. I was
I
me.
was the
I
one
was the
near the
one throwing
shed.
it. It was
Yeah,
you.
you were
Yes.
so he throws me. So I'm like, all right, Daniel, I'm ready. So I got my arms ready. So he throws
Never
the
backpedal, people.
football.
Never backpedal when you're gonna catch a ball. Do not backpedal. That's what I always tell kids.
No,
But go ahead.
yeah. But anyway, what did I do? I backpedaled,
Yes.
in which that caused me to trip backwards, hit my back first on the shed, and I think I broke the shed door.
You broke the door of the shed, yes. And everybody
And I
looked
went
around and was like,
inside.
what is going on here? The entire center was
It
looking
was
at poor
so.
Paul
Oh my
running from the
god!
shed.
I
What a beautiful
ran
memory, though.
through the shed, and I really feel like every time I go there and I see that shed, I start
It's gone,
laughing.
though. They,
Like,
they had to get rid of it. You destroyed it. I mean,
yeah,
we both did,
I
technically.
we both did. But a second one will be that we were we were watching a movie in the dance studio,
Yes, sir.
and at this time Daniel also still had his long hair, and
Yes, sir.
there were
That's
two
the best part of it.
students. There were two students that were arguing with each other, and so me and Daniel we're talking because we're trying to figure out what's the next thing that we were going to do with these kids. Like, what's the next activity? And so
Yeah.
while we're talking, I'm facing literally this way. And Daniel's like right in front of me. And so I see out the corner of my eye hands being thrown. I see these, yeah. So I look at, I see these two kids. And so I run, I'm hopping over kids. Daniel's right behind me. He's going, and all I see the corner of my eye, because he's right here. We're both running at the same speed. And I just hear
The
his
air
hair is
flip.
going crazy, hair flipping, and I'm just like, dude, I couldn't be serious. I had to laugh, and I was trying. I let them know. I let the staff know. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at what Daniel and I did because I did not expect his hair to go wildly crazy like that.
Slow
That
motion.
that that it was incredibly funny, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the shed. The shed was a good one. Shed was a good
And
one.
one last question, Paul. I know you wanted to talk
Yes.
about your channel. You'll get a second to do that, but I do want to end it with this.
Yeah.
What did you do on Juneteenth? Did you have potato salad, corn and cob,
You know what?
mac and cheese?
Yeah,
That's
you
soul
know
food, right?
what? Soul food, man. But okay, so I'm gonna answer that question. But beforehand, me and Daniel would talk about food a lot.
Oh, let's hear it.
And every time there would be other
Collard
staffs
greens.
at a place called home, there would be other staff at like the nonprofit organization, and I feel as if like they saw the joy that me and Daniel had, and so I feel like that's why they wanted me to stop being around Daniel, was because I would be distracting him at work, even
Which wasn't
though
true, but okay.
even though I was always early before class
Yep.
starts, and we would do these things. But Juneteenth, I went to downtown Disney. I went to downtown Disney on Juneteenth, and they had this celebration that's called Disney on the Yard, soulful celebration event, which is basically about celebrating Black culture, celebrating everything from the freedom of slavery, going to the culture of music, the food that we would eat, the little slangs that we would use that our ancestors grew up saying that we still say to this day. I would definitely say that the thing that I would take most from Juneteenth was that we got to see Drum Major Mickey. He was in his little Juneteenth outfit. It was really cool. He was the maestro, drum major, and then we have different marching bands from different HBCUs come out to perform and celebrate Juneteenth. As well as I did eat some good food. I had fried chicken slider, and that came with, I
There you
believe,
go.
French fries and or corn on the cob or potato salad, something
There it
along those
is.
lines. It was good. It was good. It was really good. I'm actually going to be going back to
Nice.
Disney to celebrate soulfully because it's a whole June thing. It goes from June 19th, which was Juneteenth, to July 11th or the 12th. So yeah, really had fun. Got to be around a lot of people that look like me, and
Yes.
it was crazy. It was crazy fun. It was a lot of fun. It was joyful. That's the word I would definitely use. Joyful.
And that's a great segue to end today's session. I think you gave us your whole story about mentorship, how, you know, things for you didn't start off too great, but you got the right mentorship with people, multiple people actually. And,
Yeah.
now you're a content creator. You are going, live through your content as well. Anybody on here who has watched this whole thing, make sure you check out his channel. And this is a guy who's just full of joy. You know,
Yeah,
there is not a time where you'll see this guy. I don't think I've ever heard a young man in my life not curse like Paul. I never heard him curse in all the years, even when he was upset. So that tells me a lot about Paul. He is a great person. And thank you, Paul, for being on here. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
no problem.
And to the next one, y'all. Peace out.
See you.